Latham is going to be running a very close race this time around, and but we're very confident that we'll get him elected, and Potawatomi County will be leading his way this year. I'd like to welcome you, Republicans and fellow Democrats. Appreciate you stopping in this evening.
Who's Democrat? Yeah. I surely had to beat you up.
One guy back there. I was like, oh, back here. Don't make me have.
I know he ain't looking at me.
Yeah, I know he's not looking at me.
Anyway,
no, these guys.
Anyway, without further ado, I'll introduce you.
Great. Thank you very much, John. Thank you for leading the county Republican Party and all the other folks here that do such a great job. And great friends here at town. Colonel, good to see you. How's the campaign going?
Super.
Good. Good. Anyway, I just say a few words. I'd try to answer some questions for you. Obviously, you're probably all tired from being over in Omaha today with former Speaker Pelosi today. She was with Mr. Boswell. It's very nice to have you there. If you don't know, staff back here, Ryan Frederick is doing the area over here. We're on the verge of getting an opening, right, as far as an office and everything. So look forward to having that so we can get up and operating and get organizationally get everything in track. This election, I'll just tell you, we're doing extremely well. The reception has been fantastic. Everywhere we've gone, we've been able to garner a lot of support financially, organizationally. When the night of the caucuses, there's 384 precincts in this congressional district. We had somebody designated for every one of those precincts to stand up and speak for us the night of the caucus. We were able to file our affidavit for election. We needed about 1,400 signatures. We had over 9,600 signatures, so that we're qualified in all 16 counties. Very proud of that. We've got financially, the campaign's doing very well as far as raising money and to make sure we get our election on, our message out in this election. It is extraordinarily important for the future of the country, I think, that there are two very divergent paths that we've seen today. One, of bigger government, more spending, other that I want to pursue, and that's to lessen the size scope of the federal government, to quit spending in Washington, to give opportunities back to the private sector, and that really gets down to it. There's a clear difference as far as the records with Mr. Boswell and myself. He has voted for the Wall Street bailout. He voted for the stimulus. He voted for cap and trade. He voted for the health care bill. He voted for the Dodd-Frank bill, which is going to be extraordinarily difficult for our small Main Street banks to ever comply with all the new regulations that's going to come with that. So you see a very different. I have voted against each and every one of those. And that's why Nancy Pelosi is doing a fundraiser for him in Omaha today. So, because of their close ties with Mr. Boswell and Ms. Pelosi. I feel very, very good. We can't just talk about different records, but a vision for the future. And that is, in fact, to give opportunities for our kids, our grandchildren, to limit the size scope of the federal government. And the way you do that is to cut spending, get the power back to home. The larger the government is, the smaller the citizens is, and that's why we've got to change course in Washington to really help us grow. The only reason I'm doing this again is my daughter just had a new baby January 4th. And I looked at that little grandson. I think that baby's $50,000 in debt the second it took its first breath. I mean, it's not sustainable what the path we're on, and we've got to change course. So anyway, I'd much rather try to answer questions than stand up here and give a big speech or anything. But thank you all for coming tonight. Okay, come on. Yes, sir.
When you say cutting spending, are you a proponent of The Ryan budget, do you have a plan of your own that is something different than that? And then a follow-up question is, I think Senator Coburn authored a bill for dealing with entitlements recently, and I mean there hasn't been a whole lot of play given to it, but I wondered if that's going to get any play in the House.
Frustration I have this year, there's not going to be a lot of activity because there's certainly in the Senate, the Democrats will not pursue anything. We've got a pile of bills up sitting on Harry Reid's desk right now that they will not pick up. Certainly, we are going to do everything we can to pass the budget. Unlike the Senate, which has not passed the budget for 3 years, we did last year that I voted for. We're going to try to get it done again this year. It's a matter of how much do we cut as far as spending. And that's, you know, but the reality is this year, and that's why this election is absolutely critical, that we actually have people go to Washington that will do the right thing for the future of the country. And that's what it's going to take. When you look at the entire federal budget today, you know, about a third of it is what they call discretionary spending, and that's defense is included in that. And 2/3 is either interest or the mandatory spending accounts, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, highway bill, farm bill, all of those things that are mandatory spending. And we've got to make changes. I mean, you could eliminate all of the discretionary spending last year, which is $1.042 trillion, and still be $250 billion in deficit. That would do away with defense, do away with all those programs that people expect. And because of the autopilot that everything else is on, you know, that's where the problem is long term. There's got to be minor adjustments today that will have a profound impact out in the future. But that's why we've got to have some people who actually step up and take tough votes and get the job done next year. And it's going to take an election to do it.
You know, I know there's a lot of issues out there, and one issue that I'm interested in is that the news media is our biggest enemy. And you probably can't do anything now, but I mean, would you just give some thought about breaking up the cable companies and the satellite companies? In other words, why should I buy a package of channels? I don't want to pay for Spanish channels. I don't want to pay for Russian channels. If they want to pay for it, that's fine. But I mean, that way, if CNN wants to lie to me, I can call up the cable company and say, you know what? I don't want to pay for that. If they go broke, that's too bad. But if you consider,
right, and certainly look at the idea of menu on TV is something that's been debated a lot. What you'll find is each of those stations you purchase will be much more expensive.
fine.
But
Congressman, can you speak on this a little bit? I've got a bunch of noise over here and I can't hardly hear you.
no, but what he's talking about on television, the cable, about picking which station you want to purchase, which one you don't. Because they bundle it, each one of them is less expensive. But if you did that individually, you'd pay a lot more for the stations you do buy. That's the trade-off.
Well, that's fine, but if it's $30, I'd rather spend $30 on 5 channels rather than support all these.
Yes, Jeff.
Congressman, I understand that President Obama just recently met with the Democratic governors. The topic of discussion is how to bypass Congress. Is certain constitutional law in this aspect? How do you guys put a stop?
Is he going to absolutely? I mean, when you look at the appointments, the question was: is the president skirting the Constitution or skirting law? Those things that he's been doing. In my mind, there's no question when you have appointments that are when Congress is in session that he makes that bypasses confirmation of the Senate, which is, those positions have to be approved by the Senate. And when they were in session, we did business while he said they were in recess. The National Labor Relations Board, 3 appointments there. certainly the consumer product board, director, commissioner, is a huge thing, because that's agents. I think the way that whole Dodd-Frank bill was put together was wrong, because that agency gets its funding from the Federal Reserve. So basically, they can print money, pay everybody in that agency, and we have no control over it because we don't appropriate the money for it. But that they would not be able to put a whole bunch of new regulations in place. And if you talk to anybody in the industry, it's going to be devastating, especially in small banks. You know, that certainly is a case where he circumvented what has been in place for over 230 years. Never before has that been done. He claims authority to do it, and there's no basis for it. So no, it's got to be held accountable and defined. In my mind, the best solution is the election in November. That's the fastest. But yes, no, they are. It's just like, you know, cap and trade that the House passed, that Nancy Pelosi pushed through and Leonard Boswell's help a couple years ago. It did not get even the Senate Democrats wouldn't take it up in the Senate. So what the administration is doing is implementing regulations today that are the same as what cap and trade would have been. So rather than doing it by legislation, they're doing it by regulation, which totally circumvents the whole process. But no, they're working 24/7 on these things. And that's what's really scary. You're going to be so many things to reverse immediately if you're going to change the White House.
We have somebody keeping track of everything.
Yeah, don't worry.
Because you're right.